Welcome to Viba FlixM, the place where untold stories meet raw emotions. Tonight, we dive deep into one of the most shocking and heartbreaking chapters in the life of TLC's 90-Day Fiancé. This is not just gossip. This is not just drama. What happens when two stars from one of reality TV's most dramatic franchises decide to rewrite their own love story? Away from the cameras, away from the gossip, and away from the world's watchful eyes? For the past year, Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco have been secretly involved in a romantic relationship. Avoiding the eyes of the media, they met multiple times on room dates at five-star hotels. From secret sources, even more explosive information has emerged. Tiffany Franco is currently pregnant and is expecting twins. Although they had hidden the matter for a long time, mounting pressure forced Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco to finally make their relationship public. As soon as the relationship was revealed, another shocking piece of news surfaced. Tim Malcolm gifted his girlfriend Tiffany Franco a luxurious car worth $700,000. This extravagant gift has already created a huge stir among fans. Then came the biggest announcement. The wedding date of Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco has been officially set. Their marriage will take place this upcoming February 10, 2026. This is the untold story of Tim and Tiffany. A story of love, scandal, and the kind of drama that only 90-Day Fiancé stars could deliver. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear will change everything you thought you knew about them. Every great love story has a beginning, but not every beginning is meant to be seen. For Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco, the spark ignited quietly, far from the flashing lights of reality TV cameras. Both had lived their own journeys on 90-Day Fiancé, navigating heartbreak, complicated relationships, and the constant scrutiny of fans who dissected their every move. Yet, somewhere in the chaos of fame, they found each other. It started innocently, conversations that stretched late into the night, messages exchanged when the world was asleep. Tim, known for his sharp wit and calm demeanor, found in Tiffany a warmth and resilience that matched his own. Tiffany, who had faced her share of struggles as a mother and reality star, saw in Tim a man who understood the weight of living under constant judgment. What began as friendship slowly transformed into something deeper, something neither of them could ignore. But secrecy was essential. Both knew the risks of going public too soon. The 90-Day Fiancé universe thrives on speculation, and any hint of romance between two stars could explode into headlines overnight. So, they chose silence. They chose privacy. They chose to protect what was growing between them. Behind closed doors, their connection blossomed. Tim admired Tiffany's strength, her ability to balance motherhood with the demands of fame. Tiffany admired Tim's loyalty, his refusal to let the chaos of television dictate his personal life. Together, they built a bond that was both fragile and powerful. Fragile because it was hidden, powerful because it was real. For months, they lived in the shadows of their own story. No Instagram posts, no public appearances, no slip-ups that could give them away. To the outside world, they were just two stars living separate lives. But in reality, they were already writing a new chapter, one that would eventually shake the foundations of the 90-Day Fiancé fandom. The hidden beginning wasn't glamorous. It wasn't filled with red carpets or paparazzi shots. It was quiet, intimate, and deeply human. And perhaps that's why it mattered so much. Because before the scandals, before the headlines, before the extravagant gifts and wedding announcements, there was simply Tim and Tiffany. Two people daring to believe in love again. Love stories often thrive in secrecy. And for Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco, secrecy meant luxury. While the world believed they were living separate lives, the truth was unfolding behind the closed doors of five-star hotels. These rendezvous weren't casual meetups. They were carefully orchestrated escapes from reality, designed to protect their bond from the relentless eyes of fans and media. Tim, meticulous by nature, ensured every detail was flawless. From discreet bookings under aliases to private suites with panoramic city views, he spared no effort in creating a sanctuary where they could simply exist as themselves. Tiffany, balancing the demands of motherhood and fame, found these moments to be her refuge. In those rooms, she wasn't a reality star or a public figure. She was just a woman in love. The atmosphere of these meetings was intoxicating. Candlelit dinners delivered by room service, whispered conversations that stretched until dawn, laughter echoing against the walls of suites that seemed suspended in time. They built memories in fragments, moments stitched together in secrecy, each one more precious because it was hidden. Yet, the secrecy carried weight. Every time they checked into a hotel, there was the risk of being recognized. A single photograph, a single leak, could unravel everything they had worked to protect. That fear only deepened their bond. It wasn't just romance, it was survival. They were partners in a delicate dance, balancing passion with caution. For Tim, these rendezvous were proof of his devotion. He wanted Tiffany to feel cherished, to know that their relationship wasn't a fleeting fling, but something worth protecting at all costs. For Tiffany, they were proof of trust. She saw in Tim a man willing to risk his reputation, his privacy, and even his career to be with her. The five-star hotels became their secret world. Each room was a chapter, each night a story. They weren't just hiding from the public. They were building a foundation, brick by brick, moment by moment. And though the world remained oblivious, their love was growing stronger, preparing for the day when secrecy would no longer be enough. What they didn't know then was that these hidden nights would soon become the stuff of headlines. The very walls that had protected them would one day echo in the gossip columns, turning their private paradise into public scandal. But for now, in those rooms high above the city, Tim and Tiffany were untouchable. Every secret has a breaking point, and for Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco, that moment arrived with a heartbeat, or rather, two. What had begun as a hidden romance soon carried the weight of something far greater. Tiffany was pregnant, and not just with one child, but twins. The discovery was both miraculous and terrifying. Tiffany had always been open about her journey as a mother, her struggles, and her triumphs. But this time, the stakes were different. These weren't just children. They were the living proof of a love story the world didn't yet know existed. For months, she carried the secret close to her heart, confiding only in Tim. Together, they navigated the emotions that came with such news: joy, fear, and the overwhelming realization that their private world was about to collide with the public one. Tim, who had always been cautious and deliberate, found himself at a crossroads. He knew the pregnancy would eventually force their relationship into the spotlight. Yet he also knew that Tiffany needed him more than ever. He became her anchor, attending doctor's appointments in disguise, holding her hand through the uncertainty, and whispering promises that no matter what the world said, he would stand by her. For Tiffany, the pregnancy was a mix of hope and anxiety. She imagined the future, two tiny lives growing inside her, a family expanding in ways she hadn't planned, but now couldn't imagine living without. At the same time, she feared the backlash. Fans could be unforgiving, and the media thrived on scandal. How would they react when the truth came out? Would they see love, or would they see betrayal? The secrecy became heavier with each passing month. Tiffany's body began to change, and hiding the pregnancy grew harder. Loose clothing, carefully angled photos, and limited public appearances became her shield. But behind closed doors, she and Tim celebrated every milestone: the first ultrasound, the sound of 2 heartbeats, the doctor's reassurance that the twins were healthy. It was in those moments that their love deepened. The pregnancy wasn't just a secret. It was a bond that tied them together in ways neither had expected. They weren't just lovers anymore. They were parents-to-be, united by responsibility and devotion. The revelation of Tiffany's pregnancy would eventually shake the 90-day Fiance fandom to its core. But before the headlines, before the speculation, before the storm of opinions, there was simply this: 2 people staring at an ultrasound screen, hearing the rhythm of life, and realizing that their hidden love story had just become impossible to hide. Secrets can be thrilling, but they are rarely sustainable. For Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco, the walls of privacy they had built around their relationship began to crack under the weight of reality. What had started as a hidden romance nurtured in five-star hotel suites and whispered conversations, was now colliding with the unavoidable truth. Tiffany's pregnancy and their growing bond could no longer remain invisible. The pressure came from all sides. Fans of 90 Day Fiancé are notoriously observant, dissecting every social media post, every public appearance, every subtle change in demeanor. Tiffany's absence from certain events, her carefully chosen outfits, and Tim's sudden reluctance to discuss his personal life began to spark rumors. The whispers grew louder, and speculation turned into suspicion. Behind the scenes, the couple felt the strain. Tiffany, carrying twins, knew that her pregnancy would soon be impossible to hide. Every day brought new changes, and the thought of paparazzi catching even a glimpse filled her with dread. Tim, protective by nature, realized that silence was no longer an option. The longer they hid, the more explosive the revelation would become. It wasn't just the fans, it was family, friends, and even producers who began asking questions. Why was Tiffany avoiding the spotlight? Why was Tim suddenly more private than ever? The answers were locked away in their hearts, but the world was demanding them. The turning point came when Tiffany confided in Tim that the secrecy was beginning to feel suffocating. What had once been exciting now felt like a burden. She wanted to celebrate her love openly, to embrace the joy of her pregnancy without fear. Tim listened, and though he feared the backlash, he knew she was right. Their love deserved to be seen. So together, they made the decision. They would go public, not because they wanted attention, but because they needed freedom. They would reveal their relationship, their pregnancy, and their truth, no matter how the world reacted. When the announcement finally came, it was like a thunderclap across the 90 Day Fiancé fandom. Fans who had speculated for months were stunned to see the truth laid bare. Headlines erupted, social media exploded, and the couple who had lived in shadows was suddenly standing in the brightest spotlight of their lives. The pressure to go public had been immense, but in the end, it was liberating. Tim and Tiffany were no longer hiding. They were no longer whispering in secret. They were standing together, hand in hand, ready to face whatever storm the world would throw at them. Love stories often find their turning points in grand gestures, and for Tim Malcolm, that moment came with the roar of an engine and the gleam of polished metal. When the world was still reeling from the revelation of his relationship with Tiffany Franco, Tim decided to silence the doubters with a statement so bold it could not be ignored. He gifted Tiffany a luxurious car worth $700,000. The gift wasn't just about wealth, it was about symbolism. Tim wanted Tiffany to know that she was cherished, valued, and celebrated. For a couple who had spent months hiding in shadows, this car was a declaration of love in the brightest spotlight imaginable. It was his way of saying, "We are here, and we are unapologetically together." The car itself became a character in their story. Sleek, powerful, and dripping with luxury, it represented more than just material extravagance. To Tiffany, it was proof of Tim's devotion, a tangible reminder that he was willing to go above and beyond to make her feel special. To fans, however, it was a lightning rod for controversy. Social media erupted. Some praised Tim's generosity, calling it the ultimate romantic gesture. Others criticized the extravagance, questioning whether such a gift was necessary or appropriate. Memes flooded Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, with fans debating whether the car was a symbol of true love or a publicity stunt. The fandom was divided, but one thing was certain: everyone was talking about Tim and Tiffany. Behind the headlines, Tiffany's reaction was far more personal. She was overwhelmed, not by the price tag, but by the thoughtfulness behind the gesture. Tim had chosen a car that matched her personality, elegant yet bold, refined yet powerful. It wasn't just about luxury, it was about understanding who she was and celebrating it. For Tim, the gift was also a way of reclaiming control over the narrative. He knew the media would spin their story in countless directions, but with this gesture, he set the tone himself. He wasn't hiding anymore. He wasn't apologizing. He was showing the world that his love for Tiffany was worth every risk, every headline, and yes, every dollar. The $700,000 car became more than just a gift. It became a symbol of their transition from secrecy to spectacle. It marked the moment when their love story shifted gears, accelerating into the public eye with unstoppable force. And while fans debated, speculated, and criticized, Tim and Tiffany simply drove forward, together, united, and ready for whatever came next. When Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco finally stepped into the spotlight, the world didn't just watch, it roared. The revelation of their relationship, Tiffany's pregnancy, and Tim's jaw-dropping $700,000 car gift sent shockwaves through the 90-day Fiance fandom. For years, fans had speculated about their personal lives, but no one expected a story this dramatic, this extravagant, and this real. The reactions were immediate and intense. Social media platforms lit up like wildfire. Twitter threads dissected every detail. Instagram accounts reposted photos of the car, and TikTok creators churned out endless commentary videos. Some fans were ecstatic, celebrating the couple's love story as a triumph of resilience and romance. Finally, Tiffany deserves happiness. One fan wrote, "Tim is proving he's the real deal," another added. But not everyone was convinced. Critics questioned the timing of the announcement, suggesting it was a publicity stunt designed to grab headlines. Others doubted the sincerity of Tim's lavish gift, arguing that such extravagance was more about image than love. Who spends $700,000 on a car unless they're trying to show off? Skeptics asked. The fandom was split down the middle, half cheering, half jeering. The pregnancy news added another layer of intensity. Supporters flooded Tiffany's accounts with messages of congratulations, praising her strength and wishing her well. Yet, detractors raised eyebrows, questioning whether the couple was ready for such responsibility, especially under the glare of fame. The twins became a symbol of hope for some, and a point of controversy for others. Tim and Tiffany, meanwhile, watched the storm unfold. They knew the fandom's passion was both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, the attention amplified their story, making them the most talked about couple in the 90-day Fiance universe. On the other, it meant every decision, every gesture, every word would be scrutinized endlessly. Fan pages dedicated to the couple sprang up overnight, while gossip blogs churned out speculative articles about their future. Some fans even began organizing online wedding watch parties, eager to celebrate the February 10, 2026 ceremony as if it were their own. The couple had become more than reality stars. They were cultural phenomena. Yet, beneath the noise, one truth remained. Tim and Tiffany's love story had captured the imagination of millions. Whether adored or criticized, they were impossible to ignore. The fandom's divided reaction only fueled the drama, ensuring that their journey would continue to dominate headlines and conversations. For Tim and Tiffany, the fan reaction was a reminder of the world they lived in, a world where love was never just personal, but public, dissected, and debated. And as the countdown to their wedding began, they knew the eyes of millions would remain fixed on them, waiting for the next chapter in their extraordinary story. No love story exists in isolation. For Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco, the moment their relationship became public wasn't just about fans and headlines. It was about family. And family, as both of them knew, could be the most supportive force or the most difficult obstacle. Tiffany's family had always been protective of her. As a mother, she carried responsibilities that extended beyond herself, and her loved ones worried about how this new relationship would affect her children. When the news of her romance with Tim broke, reactions were mixed. Some relatives were thrilled, seeing Tim as a steady, reliable presence who could bring stability into Tiffany's life. Others were skeptical, questioning whether his intentions were genuine or whether the relationship was simply another chapter in the unpredictable world of reality TV. Her pregnancy with twins only heightened emotions. For Tiffany's mother, the news was bittersweet. Joy at the thought of new grandchildren, but concern about the challenges Tiffany would face under the glare of fame. Conversations behind closed doors were filled with questions. Was Tim ready to be a father figure? Could Tiffany handle the pressure of raising twins while living in the spotlight? These weren't just gossip, they were real fears from people who loved her deeply. Tim's family, meanwhile, had their own perspective. Known for his cautious nature, Tim had always kept his personal life guarded. His relatives were surprised by the sudden revelation, but many admired Tiffany's strength and resilience. They saw her as someone who could match Tim's energy, someone who had already proven herself capable of navigating life's storms. Still, there were whispers of doubt. Would the relationship survive the intensity of public scrutiny? Could Tim balance his career, his reputation, and the demands of fatherhood? Family gatherings became emotional battlegrounds. Supportive voices clashed with skeptical ones, and Tim and Tiffany often found themselves defending their choices. Yet, through it all, they remained united. They knew that family approval mattered, but they also knew that their love had to stand on its own. In quieter moments, Tiffany leaned on Tim for reassurance. He reminded her that families, like fans, would eventually see the truth in their bond. And Tim, though sometimes shaken by the weight of expectation, found strength in Tiffany's unwavering belief that they were meant to be together. The family reactions added complexity to their story, turning it from a simple romance into a saga of loyalty, doubt, and resilience. For Tim and Tiffany, it was a reminder that love doesn't just connect two people, it connects entire worlds. And as their wedding date drew closer, they knew those worlds would have to find harmony, one way or another. If their romance had already shaken the 90-day fiancé universe, the wedding announcement was the earthquake that followed. On a crisp afternoon, Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco finally revealed the news that fans had been waiting for, and critics had been dreading. Their marriage was officially set for February 10, 2026. The announcement didn't come quietly. It was delivered with the kind of flair that only Tim and Tiffany could bring. A carefully crafted statement, shared across social media and amplified by entertainment outlets, confirmed what had once seemed unthinkable. The two reality stars who had lived in secrecy for over a year were now preparing to walk down the aisle. For fans, the revelation was electrifying. Wedding hashtags began trending within hours, with supporters declaring it the event of the year. Some even joked that the ceremony deserved its own spin-off series, complete with behind-the-scenes footage and dramatic interviews. Tiffany's pregnancy with twins added another layer of excitement, turning the wedding into more than just a union of two people. It was the beginning of a family. But the announcement also stirred controversy. Skeptics questioned the timing, suggesting that the couple was rushing into marriage under the pressure of public scrutiny. Others speculated that the wedding date was strategically chosen to maximize media coverage, turning what should have been a private celebration into a global spectacle. Tim and Tiffany, however, remained unfazed. For them, the wedding wasn't about headlines. It was about commitment. After months of secrecy, after the storm of fan reactions and family debates, they wanted to stand together in front of the world and declare their love openly. The February date wasn't just symbolic. It was a promise, a milestone, a declaration that their journey was entering a new chapter. Behind the scenes, preparations began immediately. Tiffany dreamed of a ceremony that blended elegance with intimacy, a wedding that reflected both her resilience and her joy. Tim envisioned a celebration that honored their journey, filled with moments that would remind everyone that their love was real, no matter what the critics said. The announcement transformed their story. No longer were they simply a couple navigating secrecy and scandal. They were future newlyweds, preparing for a day that would define their legacy. The fandom, divided though it was, couldn't look away. Whether rooting for them or waiting for them to stumble, everyone was counting down to February 10, 2026. The wedding announcement wasn't just news. It was destiny revealed. And as the date drew closer, Tim and Tiffany knew that the world would be watching, waiting, and judging. But for them, it was simple. Love had won. And now it was time to celebrate. On the outside, Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco's story looked like a fairy tale. A secret romance revealed, a $700,000 car gifted, a wedding date set, and twins on the way. It was the kind of headline that fans devoured. But behind the glamour, the reality was far more complicated. Fame has a way of magnifying everything: love, joy, but also fear and doubt. For Tiffany, the pregnancy was both a blessing and a burden. Carrying twins while under constant public scrutiny was exhausting. Every doctor's appointment carried not only medical concerns, but the fear of paparazzi lurking nearby. Every social media post was analyzed, every word dissected. She wanted to celebrate her journey, but the pressure of living under a microscope often left her feeling overwhelmed. Tim, too, carried his own struggles. Known for his calm demeanor, he often hid the weight of expectation behind a composed smile. But in private, he wrestled with questions that haunted him. Was he ready to be a father figure? Could he protect Tiffany from the relentless criticism? Would their relationship survive the storm of fame? These doubts gnawed at him, even as he tried to shield Tiffany from his own insecurities. The couple's relationship, though strong, was tested by the demands of secrecy and spectacle. Arguments flared when the stress became too much. Tiffany worried about the future, while Tim worried about the present. They clashed over how much to share with the public, how to balance honesty with privacy, and how to protect their children from the chaos of celebrity life. Yet, in those moments of tension, their bond revealed its true strength. They leaned on each other, finding comfort in whispered reassurances and quiet nights away from the spotlight. Tim reminded Tiffany that love wasn't about perfection, it was about persistence. Tiffany reminded Tim that vulnerability wasn't weakness, it was proof of humanity. Together, they navigated the storm, refusing to let doubt define them. Behind the glamour, there were tears, fears, and sleepless nights. But there was also resilience. Their struggles weren't signs of failure. They were proof that their love was real, tested, and forged in fire. For every headline that painted them as flawless, there was a private moment that showed their humanity. And perhaps that was the most powerful truth of all. Beneath the luxury cars and wedding announcements, Tim and Tiffany were simply two people fighting for love in a world that demanded perfection. Once the wedding announcement hit the airwaves, the story of Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco was no longer theirs alone. It belonged to the world. The media, hungry for scandal and spectacle, seized on every detail, turning their romance into a headline machine. Entertainment outlets ran breaking news segments, gossip blogs churned out daily updates, and paparazzi swarmed like bees to honey. Every photograph of Tiffany was scrutinized for signs of her pregnancy. Every appearance by Tim was analyzed for clues about the wedding. Their once private love story had become the hottest topic in reality TV circles, dominating conversations far beyond the 90-day Fiance fandom. The frenzy wasn't limited to tabloids. Mainstream outlets picked up the story, framing it as a modern-day fairy tale with a twist of scandal. From secrecy to spotlight, Tim and Tiffany's journey became a recurring headline. Talk shows debated the sincerity of their relationship, with hosts asking whether the couple was truly in love or simply capitalizing on fame. Social media amplified the chaos. Fans created countdown clocks to February 10, 2026, while critics dissected every move. Memes of Tim's $700,000 car gift flooded timelines, some celebrating it as the ultimate romantic gesture, others mocking it as excessive. Tiffany's pregnancy became a trending topic, with hashtags like #TwinFiancé and #TimandTiffanyForever spreading across platforms. For Tim and Tiffany, the frenzy was overwhelming. Paparazzi followed them to restaurants, airports, even doctor's appointments. Privacy became a luxury they no longer had. Tiffany, already navigating the physical and emotional demands of pregnancy, now faced the added stress of constant exposure. Tim, protective and fiercely loyal, often clashed with photographers, determined to shield Tiffany from the worst of the spotlight. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was opportunity. The media frenzy, though invasive, also cemented their place as one of the most talked about couples in reality TV history. Their story wasn't just gossip, it was cultural currency, a narrative that captivated millions. And while the scrutiny was exhausting, it also gave them a platform to share their truth, to show the world that their love was more than scandal, it was resilience. Behind the flashing cameras and relentless headlines, Tim and Tiffany found strength in each other. They reminded themselves that the frenzy was temporary, but their bond was permanent. The world could speculate, criticize, and analyze, but only they knew the reality of their love. The media frenzy was both a curse and a crown. It tested their patience, invaded their privacy, and magnified their struggles. But it also proved one undeniable fact. Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco were no longer just reality stars. They were icons of a love story that refused to be ignored. With the wedding date set, the countdown began. February 10, 2026 wasn't just a day on the calendar. It was a destination, a moment that would define Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco's love story forever. And as the days ticked closer, preparations transformed their lives into a whirlwind of luxury, anticipation, and emotion. The planning was nothing short of extravagant. Tiffany envisioned a ceremony that blended elegance with intimacy, a wedding that reflected her resilience and joy. She dreamed of walking down the aisle in a gown that symbolized both strength and grace, surrounded by family, friends, and the undeniable energy of love. Tim, ever the perfectionist, focused on the details, ensuring that every flower, every song, every moment would be flawless. Behind the glamour, however, was a storm of emotions. Tiffany, carrying twins, balanced the excitement of becoming a bride with the physical demands of pregnancy. Every fitting, every rehearsal, every late-night planning session carried its own challenges. Yet, she refused to let exhaustion dim her joy. "This is our moment," she told Tim, "and nothing will take it away." Tim, meanwhile, felt the weight of responsibility. He wasn't just preparing for a wedding. He was preparing for a future as a husband and father. The countdown wasn't about luxury cars or headlines anymore. It was about building a life, a family, and a legacy. He poured himself into the preparations, determined to give Tiffany the wedding she deserved. The media frenzy only intensified as the date approached. Paparazzi speculated about the guest list, designers teased Tiffany's gown, and fans organized online countdowns to the big day. Some critics dismissed the event as a spectacle, while supporters hailed it as the ultimate love story. But for Tim and Tiffany, the noise faded into the background. Their focus was on each other, on the vows they would soon exchange, and on the promise of forever. Family dynamics added another layer of complexity. Relatives debated traditions, friends offered advice, and emotions ran high. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was unity. Both families, despite their initial doubts, rallied behind the couple, recognizing that this wedding wasn't just about two people. It was about merging lives, histories, and futures. As the countdown reached its final weeks, Tim and Tiffany found themselves reflecting on their journey. From secret hotel rendezvous to public revelations, from whispered promises to extravagant gestures, their love had endured every test. Now, standing on the edge of forever, they were ready to step into the spotlight, not as reality stars, not as scandal makers, but as husband and wife. The countdown to marriage wasn't just about anticipation, it was about transformation. And as February 10, 2026 drew closer, Tim and Tiffany knew that their story was no longer just theirs. It belonged to everyone who believed in love, resilience, and the power of destiny. Every love story reaches a climax, but the most powerful ones continue beyond the final chapter. For Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco, February 10, 2026 will mark the beginning of a new life together, but it will not be the end of their journey. Their wedding is a milestone, a celebration, but the true test of their love lies in the days, months, and years that follow. The future ahead is filled with both promise and challenge. Tiffany, preparing to welcome twins, knows that motherhood will demand strength, patience, and resilience. She has already proven herself capable of navigating life's storms, but raising two newborns while living under the spotlight will be unlike anything she has faced before. Yet, she embraces the challenge, determined to give her children a life filled with love, stability, and joy. Tim, stepping into the role of husband and father, faces his own transformation. Known for his calm demeanor and sharp wit, he now carries the responsibility of protecting not just Tiffany, but their growing family. The $700,000 car, The extravagant gestures, the headlines, all of it fades in comparison to the quiet, everyday acts of devotion that will define his future. For Tim, the true measure of love will be found not in grand gestures, but in consistency, loyalty, and presence. Together, they will navigate the complexities of fame. The media will continue to watch, fans will continue to speculate, and critics will continue to question. But Tim and Tiffany have already proven that their bond can withstand secrecy, scandal, and scrutiny. The future ahead will test them in new ways, but it will also give them opportunities to grow stronger, to build a family, and to redefine what it means to be a couple in the public eye. Their story is no longer just about romance. It is about resilience. It is about two people who dared to love in silence, who revealed their truth in the face of judgment, and who now stand ready to embrace the future together. The wedding will be a spectacle, yes, but the real story will unfold in the quiet moments that follow, the laughter of children, the strength of partnership, and the enduring power of love. And so, as the curtain falls on this chapter, one question remains. What do you think lies ahead for Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco? Will their love story continue to defy the odds? Or will the pressures of fame and family test them in ways they never imagined? As February 10, 2026 approaches, are we witnessing the beginning of a forever romance, or the start of a new drama that will keep fans talking for years to come? More update. Tim Malcolm finally asks a girl out. Who is his first date? Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco secretly got married. And Tiffany and Tim confirmed their relationship. Are Tiffany and Rob filming for 90 Day Fiance, The Single Life? I will explain everything. It looks like Tim Malcolm has made a lot of progress in his search for his soulmate. Fans are shocked to learn about his new girlfriend, and he just asked her out on the show. The 90 Day Fiance star seemed to be bored of the drama, so he tried his luck with a surprise star. Tim had a hard time emotionally because of all the things his ex-girlfriend Jen made up about him at the resort. She said he wasn't straight, so Tim needed some time to calm down. He made advances on a lot of the women in his cast. People started to talk about the reality TV star dating Tiffany Franco. When Tim told the crowd about his new love interest, they were shocked. Isn't she Tiffany? Find her. Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Tarazona have been watching 90 Day Fiance for a few seasons. In the first, he spent many seasons and spin-offs with Jennifer and Veronica. The TLC star hasn't been in a relationship in a long time. Tim and Tiffany got along right away on Hunt for Love, and they became one other's rock. She was there to support her co-star when he was having trouble with the rumors about his sexuality. She harshly insulted Jen in order to clear her friend's name and get rid of the rumors. Fans really wanted the two of them to get together since they were both so real and nice. Tim and Tiffany posted a video from a club on Instagram, which fueled dating speculations. A lot of people started to wonder if they had broken up, but it was evident that this would be a friendly reunion because Elise was there too. Tim Malcolm's warm and honest nature won over many fans of Hunt for Love. Many women were drawn to his show-stealing tricks. The reality TV personality didn't ask anyone out on a date, which was surprising. Tim asked someone out on a date not too long ago. In a confession, he talked about the new girl May and her wild side after viewing it with Joe. During their session, he saw her leap around like crazy at Joe. He believed to himself that she might be a freak. The star of 90 Day Fiance, on the other hand, really liked how free-spirited she was. Tim said, "I'd love to ask May out. To be honest, I don't think I could manage her wild side." He got the courage to knock on her hotel room door. After telling her they had a lot in common, the TLC star asked her out on a date. May had already turned down Malcolm's advances. She was astonished by how bold he was, though, and politely accepted the invitation. "I love strange men, and he gives off that vibe," she added. "So I said to myself, why not give it a try?" Tim stated he was feeling overwhelmed by the whole affair because it had been 10 years since he had asked a woman out. His fans were happy that he gave it a try after reading the directions. The gang liked me because she was so sure of herself. A lot of people wanted to see the couple's hot chemistry in a romantic setting. Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco secretly got married. Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco had the best chemistry on Hunt for Love. These are really the nicest individuals you'll ever meet. The stars of 90 Day Fiancé quickly became friends and were there for each other no matter what. Tim and Tiffany seemed to be closer off film than they were on screen. They were seen together a lot once the filming was over. Fans of the TLC show wondered if the couples ever got together after this. It looks like Tim and Tiffany have finally acknowledged their relationship and left some big clues. They were so private that they even got married in secret. Tim just gave up an important detail regarding their relationship by calling Tiffany his wife. Do you think they are married? How correct is it? What time was it? Read on if you want to learn more. Tim Malcolm got along with almost everyone on Hunt for Love, but he was really close to Tiffany Franco. The stars of 90 Day Fiancé liked each other and supported each other. Because they were both so supportive of each other, people wanted Tiffany and Tim to get together. The pair released a beautiful video of their reunion, which surprised them. The stars of reality TV were having a great time at a club. Because of how close Tim and Tiffany were, viewers had to wonder if they were more than just friends. But Elise was there too, so it was clear that they were merely getting together in a friendly way. Still, the public wanted a romantic reunion. They both thought the other person deserved them. Did the TLC stars really get married? Tim Malcolm has a lot of fans because of how funny he is. People found his honest ideas and nasty answers to be really funny. The reality TV star made a new Instagram video in response to the claims about Tiffany's relationship. In the scene, Tim was sitting on a bed and Tiffany was resting her head on his shoulder. He went on to explain that when he was in New York, he was able to spend 2 hours with his business wife. The star of 90 Days of Marriage moved the camera around the room. Tim asked Tiffany's kid, Danielle, about his mother's work husband, and Danielle said yes. Franco pretended to be a happy family with Tim and Danielle while making light of their relationship. When they got back together next month, the ex told her friend that he would definitely sleep with her. Tim agreed with a light-hearted nod, thinking they should. They talked about what they do when they are together. Because of this, viewers were confused by the whole confession. Someone who supported them inquired, "Are you two dating?" If that's the case, I'm quite happy. Other people could tell that Tim and Tiffany were kidding since they dubbed each other work husband and work wife. A lot of people thought the performers of TLC were good friends. A lot of other people were hopeful that Tim and Tiffany were really going out, but in truth, the two were making fun of their fans in response to dating rumors. People who watched the TLC show wanted the stars to stay friends. Tiffany and Tim confirmed their relationship. Tim Malcolm and Tiffany Franco are both well known to fans of 90 Day Fiancé. The latter had a long, tumultuous relationship with Ronald that ended in divorce and despair. Tim and Jennifer didn't get along, and their relationship was complicated. He also dated Louisa, but they broke up when everyone saw how badly their relationship was going on the single life. Tiffany and Tim, two famous people, went on Hunt for Love to start over. They both had horrible luck in love, but they never gave up. Fans were really happy to see them in the new spin-off. But may there be more than just friendship going on between them? There is a lot of speculation these days about their secret relationship. So, are they dating? Tim and Tiffany were the first two cast members to become friends on the new show Hunt for Love. The original cast members of 90 Day Fiancé became friends and started spending time together. It was clear immediately once that they were pals. In the first episode, Tim also trusted Tiffany enough to seek her for aid. She helped Tim fix things with his ex-girlfriend Jennifer at first, since she was a good person. Tiffany has also stayed by Tim when people have said horrible things about him. Many people said he was lying about his orientation. The rumors that his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Tarazona, was spreading were to blame for everything. She stopped the hate by standing next to him. Everyone thought their friendship was fantastic. People have also seen them together since the show ended. Perhaps they are looking into something right now. There are a lot of rumors going around that Tim and Tiffany like each other, as was said before. A Reddit user has now started further speculations about their connection. In their post, the fans said they hoped Tim and Tiffany were secretly dating. They said that Tim would be kind to Tiffany and her kids, applauding both stars. The cute post got a lot of attention. Many people who liked them felt they would make a cute couple. Some people, nevertheless, didn't think it was romantic. Another Reddit user said, it felt more like a friendship. They said that Tim and Tiffany would spend time together in the room every night. But all they did was watch TV, play video games, and wear masks. So it didn't feel like a romantic thing. Someone else phrased it this way: Tim is mostly a friend, not a romantic interest. Even if they aren't in love, they are real pals. A lot of people appear to think that they are simply close friends. Fans could be shipping them, but that's not true. Tiffany and Tim have said that they are just friends. There is no romantic drama going on between them. Who would Tim and Tiffany end up with if they didn't end up together? Let us know in the comments. Are Tiffany and Rob filming for 90 Day Fiancé, The Single Life? Are Tiffany and Rob secretly filming for the legendary offshoot of the franchise that is none other than 90 Day Fiancé, The Single Life? That's the big question that everyone keeps asking. But why? Well, Rob and Tiffany are the ones who made viewers think about these things. It seems that this pair has been dropping hints that are too obvious to miss. Tiffany and Rob both just delivered some big updates that added to the story that something was definitely going on behind the scenes. Is this real? What did they say? What is this all about? Read on to find out more about this popular topic. 90 Day Fiancé. The first thing spectators noticed was Rob Warren's relationship with Sophie Sarah. But their marriage was too crazy to continue long, so they decided to get a divorce. Rob joined Hunt for Love at this point and had a relationship with both Elise Benson and Jennifer Tarazona. But Warren couldn't find love again. None of his relationships worked out. Next is Tiffany Franco. She walked down the aisle with Ronald Smith and had a daughter with him. But their marriage over a distance didn't last long. So, the famous person joined Hunt for Love and met a man named Carlo. Tiffany, like Rob, didn't have a relationship that could have lasted to the end of the show. Fans of 90 Day Fiancé are positive that Rob Warren and Tiffany Franco are dating. People had seen these two together a number of times, and it was clear that there was a spark between them. In the middle of all this, Tiffany's new Instagram image caught a lot of people's attention. Tiffany shared a picture of a hand with tattoos on it that was holding her. Fans quickly figured out that it was Rob Warren's hand. This showed that these two had a relationship that was more than just friends, and things are becoming better between them. A lot of people talked about how Rob and Tiffany get along on Reddit. A lot of people think they have a spark, but others are sure that these two are just pals. Tiffany is particularly skilled at putting people in the friend zone, like she did with Tim Malcolm. Some critics also said that Tiffany and Rob must be filming Pillow Talk together, and it didn't appear like a love story was conceivable between them. One person said they were probably just filming Pillow Talk. Another person said they were filming Between the Sheets. Someone else said, my best guess is that they're just friends, but they might have made out once and maybe even had sex. What do you think? Please tell us in the comments. No more today. What are you thinking about this gossip today? Let us know in the comments. And stay tuned by subscribing to our channel to get more updates like this. Thank you.